One, two, three, four.
Hey. And welcome back.
What's up, party people? Welcome back.
How's everyone doing today? Great, good, okay. So, today's topic, Zach, why don't you introduce him to the topic for today?
For sure. Yeah, Breakfast with Brothers has got you a little video game throwback. We're going to talk about games we played, stuff like that, consoles that we used to rock, and everything in between. So, hopefully you got your listening shoes on because we're coming at you.
The listening shoes.
But no, I mean, coming up, it was, when we started gaming, probably any time when I was like 7 to 10 years old, somewhere in that realm, when we were going with the old Game Boy Color. It was pre-Game Boy Advanced, or the other one, I can't remember if Game Boy Advance was the flip open, or if that was the one with just the ovally rectangle shape, and then the one that flipped open that was like the little square was something different.
I believe that was also called the Game Boy Advanced, or maybe there was a different name for it, but I believe both of them were considered the Game Boy Advanced. Honestly, I couldn't tell you. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah, I'm not sure off the top of my head. I mean, we never owned either of them. I know we went straight from Game Boy Color into the DS.
The DS, yeah. I don't think we
And
ever
not that
we ever
that was
did.
because of a preference or anything, but the Game Boy Color was able to play all of games that could be inserted into like the Game Boy Advanced. Because I remember being able to be compatible. It was one of those things where you could still play the same games. And I know some you couldn't play on Game Boy Color from Game Boy Advanced. But, because they had like the half disc cartridges and stuff. But I know the full disc
Right.
cartridges you could plug into the Advanced, either one.
Yeah, I know. I always wanted the little square one that could fold up because it was just so compact that it could fit in my pocket easily. But that never happened, sadly.
No. I will say though, playing with the DS and then rolling into the DSi was a different stream. I don't think that we suffered on any gaming capabilities. I know with the Game Boy Advance, like we missed out on Yoshi's Island and another couple games that we never really like played or owned. But going into the DS, it was still one of those things where the games became smaller, the quality became a little better. They threw a stylus in there, and then they also had PictoChat. That was another big one. The school field
Yeah.
trips, sitting in like study hall or something like that, or after school just messing around trying to color the whole screen black or whatever.
Dude, yeah, PictoChat was where it's at. And I think it was the DSi that they like started doing like those little like animations, if I'm not correct.
Oh yeah, when people started doing the videos and all that stuff, and like I
Yeah.
think that was when we found the what was it? The ASDF videos. I don't
Oh
know if that
yeah,
was
yeah,
made on
yeah.
DSi, but it may have been something that was like similar to the cringe and similar to the content that was getting put out.
Oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. I mean, we thought that shit was hilarious.
I mean, it was. I wish I could pull up some of those old videos that I had saved because I know some of them are pretty good. But I actually either my DSi is in that box that's floating around with all our games gathering dust, or we already handed off one of those systems to Levi and Violet. I can't remember.
Honestly, they might have them. I'm not really sure. 'Cause I honestly don't know where my DSi is. I know someone who still has my original DS, and he won't admit to having it, and that is John Wilson. I'm calling you out, John. You took it from me back in middle school, and I want it back. Shout out John though. He's getting married. He's got a lovely lady, and I'm
Yeah, I
very
saw that he
happy
was
for him.
engaged on Facebook. What a guy.
Yeah, I'm very happy for him. And
But we're
I
not
won't
happy
say
that you're
anything.
holding on to the DS.
Yes, but we're not happy that you stole my DS back in middle school after we started playing Mario Kart, during study halls and such.
Mario Kart on DS. I remember
Yeah.
back being able to not play any Super Mario games besides like Super Mario Brothers. I think we had like Super Mario Brothers 2, maybe 3 for Game Boy Color. And then I remember, when Mario looked different, he had like a different physique like when you were playing with him. It wasn't like the Super Mario Brothers we know today. Of course, obviously graphics have come a long way, design, game development, and like the storyline. But then it was simple. Bash blocks, kill some toads and enemies or whatever the little Goombas, that's what they're called.
The
Killing
Goombas, yeah.
Goombas, throwing turtle shells, flying with Tanuki Mario, stuff like that. It was a different time. That was when the Game Boy Color didn't have its own light source. You had to add attachments to like play in the car. You had to, I think you could plug in headphones at the time. Of course, it had its own volume, but it wasn't very loud. And then after that, that was it. It was right in your hand. You had all your buttons, your D-pad. I mean, I don't even think there were bumpers on that thing. All you had was just four buttons, maybe even two buttons, and then a
A
D-pad.
B and the D-pad. Yep. Yeah,
That
no,
was it.
I remember forgetting that light attachment and then wanting to play like on the way home from like Long Island or something when mom always drove us down like every weekend, and then trying to catch the street lights so you can have some light on to the Game Boy. Yeah. Tough times but good times.
The struggles. Well, we had to come from somewhere. Playing all those games, of course, besides Super Mario. I know Breakout was a big one for me. Just the ball breaking, bouncing off the paddle, stuff like that. I mean, Pokemon was another one. I didn't really have a lot of a touch into Pokemon, but I know you did.
Yeah, I played a lot of Pokemon Blue and Pokemon Yellow on the Game Boy Color. Not that I was any good at the time, I was just playing it. But as time went on, like I ended up coming back to the Game Boy Color and played a lot of Pokemon Red, and I ended up playing through that entire game and beating it and all that. And then of course, like through the DS and such, I got much better before I returned back to the Game Boy Color for Vengeance.
Vengeance.
But I think I played a lot of the same things you did. We had Super Mario. What is it? Super Mario World 3 or whatever it was.
Something like that.
Or 2. No, maybe it was 2 for the
I
Game
think we
Boy
had
Color
both.
that we played a
Either
lot.
that or we missed one of them. Like we had 1 and 2 and didn't have 3, or we had 1 and 3, didn't have 2. It was
I think
something
we
where
had
we didn't play
1
all of
and
them.
2.
But it was the same premise, regardless. You were still progressing through worlds, battling Bowser. Every new level. I mean, after that, that wasn't a long time. I think we were gaming with those. It was pretty quick once the DS came out that we switched over. We're playing new
Yeah.
games like Guitar Hero, or obviously more Super Mario Brothers. I know there was a couple spin-offs there with like Dr. Mario, and the other one where it was like they were Nano, like Super Mario Brothers Nano, where they were like inside Bowser and they were trying to find a way to like escape. I can't remember what that game was called, but it was different.
What is it? Mario and Luigi, like Inside Out or something like that. I know what you're
Something like
talking
that.
about. Like we were,
Yeah.
like Bowser was like swallowing the world, and like Mario and Luigi got sucked in. Yeah, that game was actually kind of dope. I liked the premise of that game, and I thought it was really cool, especially with the art too. I really liked it.
Yeah, and like that was different from what we knew coming up on Game Boy Color, just because it was different theme, I guess you could say. Storyline, pretty much same premise. You're trying to save the princess. You're going level by level. But again, from Game Boy Color to DS and like DSi, all that Nintendo stuff, graphics obviously came a long way. And then being able to game that and other games like Guitar Hero had attachment that you had to put on the DS, the little finger pad. That was cool.
Oh yeah, that was sweet, dude. But I think we're forgetting the best part, which was PlayStation 2, which I knew we were like very heavy on around that time. I'm trying to think when the PlayStation 2 was released, but I know we started playing, I don't know, within that time frame. I would say shortly after, we got our original DSs or something. We probably were able to start playing because Brad allowed us to.
Well, that was the thing too. We also had some games from him, and then also borrowed games from other people. Like I know Tony Hawk Underground was a big one, and then games like oh man, Battlefront, Star Wars
Battlefront
Battlefront 2.
Yep.
Yep. And then I don't remember if we had The Simpsons Hit and Run. We might have
We did.
grabbed that from Aunt Michelle or something like that.
I believe. Actually, I don't know. I thought we had our own copy, but maybe we snagged it from Aunt Michelle because we played it so much, or we enjoyed it so much whenever she would let us play over there.
Oh yeah.
And then we also had. What else did we play? I played a lot of Kingdom. Yeah, Barnyard. Back at the Barnyard, I played some Kingdom Hearts later on down the road. That was fun. Everyone loves Kingdom Hearts. Let's see, what else did we play that we did together? Oh, was it Suzuki TT Superbike?
Oh yeah, that was a classic. That was an absolute classic.
Sweet. Dude, we would be playing together, and you would be leaning together, and we'd always like just fucking crash. Or we try to
the old
crash.
days of playing on Sega Genesis when Road Rash was still big.
Dude, Road Rash is the game, dude. I would kill to be able to play that game again.
And again, on the Sega Genesis, it was well before graphics got good. It was still pixelated. The good news was you could play through the TV, but it was still low quality. And again, it was another gaming system with very specific carts. You know, there weren't any gaming cartridges that could be transferred. Like I think Super Nintendo had their specifics, Sega Genesis had their specifics, the classic NES had their specifics. So it was one of those things where if you had the games, then you were lucky. But if not, you know, you had to go drop $1 or $2 and buy $1 or $2. You know, then it was you're probably playing like what, $25-$30 for a game. So.
Yeah, honestly, I don't really know too much about the Sega Genesis, like, in that formatting of, like, you know, how much games were at the time. But yeah, they definitely were less expensive than they are today. Not nearly close to what they were. But I guess, like, through inflation, they probably matched to about the same at the time, considering the crash of '08 and all that. So, but coming back to the Sega Genesis, I knew we played a lot of Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, that was a big one. Mortal Kombat, like the early one, Mortal Kombat like 6 or something like that. I don't even. Maybe it was like Mortal Kombat 3. It was something early.
Yeah, I don't know, but I know Mom just didn't like us playing that game at Uncle Keith's.
Well, we did have other options. You know, obviously we played the lesser games like Toe Jam and Earl or 7-Up.
Dude, love Toe Jam and Earl. Dude, I recently found that game on what is it? Switch. They put it through the classics. And are you having some issues again, Zach? All right. Ladies and gentlemen, we are going on a break. We'll see you momentarily. And we're back.
Sorry for the delay, folks. We were chit-chatting about Sega Genesis.
Yes, we were chatting about the Mortal Kombat days. What a legendary moment in time for us.
It was a good time. I will say the Mortal Kombat days, aside from playing that, I think the other big one, I know we touched on Toe Jam and Earl, but we did play Earthworm Jim a bunch too. And that was tough when we were first starting out because we were still young, trying to figure out the controls and all that.
True. Yeah, that game was a little bit harder, but I know one game, the legendary game that Uncle Keith put us onto, Boogerman.
That game was so sick. Again, another tough one.
Dude.
But it was the same thing with like Super Mario Bros. Earthworm Jim, where it was level based and you were pretty much battling enemies, using pipes to transport, going from one side of the level to the other.
Using pipes. You flushed yourself down the toilet, dude.
That's what it was.
To go to the next level.
That's what it was.
Hell yeah.
You
Yeah.
could fling boogers to
Boogerman
kill
was
enemies and stuff like that. I think you could fart to kill enemies.
Yep. Yeah, like a down B was like farting and he killed anyone in the radius. Crazy game, but man, I would love to play that game again.
Yeah, that stuff was different. It was a different kind of, obviously, again, back to the low pixel games, but that one, for what it was worth, like good art, the good editing, the levels were always different, unique to each one.
Right, yeah. I mean, there was always something different, and to be honest, we were also relatively young for that stuff, so anything that we played was like awesome. And of course it was, because we didn't have things like the PlayStation 5 today, or heavy on PC gaming. And I mean, nothing at the time was really like standoutish, other than like the original Xbox or like PlayStation 2, which is like technically next gen at that point in time.
Oh yeah.
Actually, probably a couple of gens passed, because the Sega Genesis was a bit older. We just started playing it a little later than most in our experience. But I would definitely say, like, the Sega Genesis. If I can get my hands on a Sega Genesis again, that would be a dream. Just to have a couple of games that I used to play, with you, and that would be awesome to have another Sega Genesis.
Yeah, that'd be sweet. That, and I think it's like DK Oldies or something like that. They make all those custom refurbishments and a little bit of used older games, and I know they sell them. It's expensive to get your hands on. Obviously, the retro era is well beyond. They're not producing those type of systems anymore, so it's just one of those things. But I'm sure any quality they have, would bring us right back to that nostalgic moment.
Oh yeah, I mean, like I've looked at their site for GameCubes, because I really want to play Luigi's Mansion.
Oh yeah,
on GameCube, because I remember who was it? Brandon. Do you remember Mom's friends, or Mom's friend who had the two kids? I think it was Anthony and Brandon.
Oh yeah, yeah. Visiting them on the island here and there.
Yep, I think it was Anthony that let us play Luigi's Mansion on GameCube. And ever since then, I've had like an obsession with Luigi's Mansion games.
Well, I think you also had it on, was it DSi or the 3DS that you had it on?
3DS, and that was Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon. So that was like the
later.
second
It was
game.
a Lady Luigi Mansion. I got you.
Yeah, I believe so. I'm trying to. I don't think I ever played the original on anything else, because then they like released Luigi's Mansion 3. I can't remember the title for that one. I think it was on Switch.
I was gonna say Nintendo Switch had one. So, but yeah, that was way obviously past any prime for the old throwback gaming. I know I never really played it. Obviously had my hand in Super Mario Brothers and everything through the systems that we came up on, but
yeah, I was a fan of Luigi. He was my man.
He was my god.
But what else have we played? I guess we can touch upon like the Xbox. Maybe even now Xbox 360 is a little bit more new age, so we'll save that for another ep.
Yeah, I mean, even if we, touch on the 360, that was when we started getting into the realm of being approved in our household for playing shooting games and the like, things that we couldn't touch previous to that. GTA, first-person shooters in general, M-rated games, I guess, as a more generality. But those were the times when throwback days when we were playing all different type of games. Like we were talking about Suzuki TT earlier when we were doing racing games and stuff like that. And then obviously with skateboarding, Tony Hawk's Underground. I know we also had...
We played a lot of that.
We also had a touch of, I think it was Tony Hawk's American Wasteland or something like that. I think that we got later on for PlayStation 2.
I think we got Tony Hawk's Project 8.
Project 8, yeah, okay. Yep.
That's what we had for PlayStation. I know we played I think we played Underground 2 for a little bit, because Brad like got that from a friend or something, and we were able to play a little bit of it. And then I think you were also right. I think we also had the chance to play American Wasteland, but again, those were like borrowed games, so we never really got to play them fully, because again, we were relatively young, so we weren't like actually being able to get through these games relatively fast. We had to take time and sit there and try to figure out what the hell we were doing.
Yeah, I know.
So
The
I know we
learning
got a
curve was
chance a
steep,
couple
but
times.
also I know we did a lot of, free play and multiplayer battle and stuff like that. Of course, playing
Oh
the
yeah.
story modes on those games was big then because that was one of the things that you had. Like there wasn't, I mean, I guess there was online play when like the Xbox got introduced and things like that. But from what I remember, we were never doing any online play with PlayStation 2. It was all local stuff. So
No.
if it wasn't any story modes, we were doing a lot of local play, a lot of 1v1 matchups, a lot of skate, the horse version in Skate World. And then also like Firefight was another big one.
Oh yeah, firefight where you had to kickflip
Yeah,
and shoot
you had to like a
fireballs at
kickflip
each
for
other.
shooting fireballs backwards and forwards. Yeah, that game was
Yeah.
it was tough, but it was again one of those local games that we did because when we were playing, Game Boy Color, we couldn't play together unless we had a connector. We could just play in the same room, different games. DSi, I think we had like local connections for that, but again, I think that was more just story modes that we were playing through earlier games, if I remember right.
Yeah, no, the DS we were able to play Mario Kart together, and we didn't even need everyone
Mario
didn't
Kart.
even need the game. Like the only reason you would need the game is to choose like a different character. But if you didn't have the game, you were just sat with a shy guy, which was fine. You were still able to choose a cart and stuff. So I remember that, which was sweet on the original DS. And then of course as time went on, like more games were allowed, like I guess more online play, I guess, of between like people and such. So that was pretty cool. And then I would say, what was it? I had a thought in my head, but it's completely gone.
Well, we did have the DS and DSi, and something we didn't touch on yet was PictoChat and everything that came with that. Like we were talking about the videos and the video edits that came from it that users made that were absolutely insane with their design work and doing the frame by frame and then also adding audio to it, which was nuts then, because it was just like, who is making this? Who is doing all this art for this? And it was just one of those things
Yeah.
where we just watched and appreciated instead of trying to sit there and analyze and figure it out for ourselves. It was like, we're going to waste too much time doing it ourselves. I'm just going to enjoy what everybody else has.
Yeah, exactly. Everyone else is making it. Why do I have to do it? I'm not that talented.
Best
At
I
least
could
in
do was
art.
color the whole screen black on a school field trip. Took me 10 minutes, and then I was like, oh my God, check this out.
Yeah, no, I think it was DSi that like introduced the video things because the DSi obviously had the difference between the DS and the DSi was the camera on the
Oh,
front.
yes. Yep.
Not that people were using it for these video clips, but it was just I think it's a new thing they added to it because I don't remember it on the regular DS. I think DS just had the PictoChat, and then DSi brought in some like new components to it. So I would definitely say that I enjoy the DSi more for its capabilities. But
And again, obviously the games were roughly the same from the DS. I think, was it the DSi? It might have also been the DS actually that let you play Game Boy Advanced and Game Boy Color games where you could insert those, the bigger discs or the cartridges, I guess you could say.
I want to say the DSi wasn't able to do that. But I can't remember exactly. I know the DS, yes, you were able to take off the bottom piece and put in Game Boy Advance games. I'm not sure if you could do like Game Boy games, like the long cartridges.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't the long. Maybe it was the Game Boy Advanced.
Yeah,
the
short,
half
the stub
cartridges.
carts.
Yeah.
Yeah, I believe that was the only ones you were able to use. I just don't know exactly if we were able to actually put the Game Boy games in there, like the long carts, the thin long ones. But I'm trying to remember if the DSi also had that capability. I can't remember if it did. I know they brought it back when I ended up getting the 3DS
That I remember. Yep.
because yeah, you were able to take off the bottom part again, just like or maybe you weren't. Maybe no, I'm pretty sure you were on the 3DS. I think that's what people complained about with the DSi was that you weren't able to, but I could be completely wrong, so don't quote me on any of this.
It's all right. No one's quoting. If anyone's quoting out there,
All right,
stop it. Stop it now.
Stop quoting us. We are not, and by any means, any intelligent people. Well, I shouldn't say that. We are intelligent, but, just don't quote us on things we can't really remember.
Plus, today's episode, we're just talking about gaming. All throwbacks. So if you had the same experience, we'd love to hear from you. Definitely have more video game talks coming, and that's only because we're only touching on the throwbacks. We haven't even gotten into the late stuff. Of course, we did talk about Xbox 360 a little bit, but we'll talk more about games there in the future and what that led us into as far as shooting games and mature rated games. And then, heck, even today, playing the latest consoles, PS4, PS5, that was a grind to get to. Again, the graphics are now where they should be. It's not anything that like a PC could do with 4K resolution and 1080p and things like that. But it was a big difference from where we were playing, especially looking at it from a Genesis standpoint. Pixelated, a lot of, user-made art that was pretty low quality. And then, heck, the Game Boy Colors were about the same. And we only had it on a little tiny screen. We couldn't even play that hooked up to a television.
Yeah, true. But I think on that note, and on a good note right there, we have to end the episode for today. So thank you all for coming and listening and chilling out with us. For those that are new here, we are on Spotify and YouTube, so obviously you're listening, on one of them. Check us out on the opposite if you haven't yet. To everyone that has been listening, thank you. And, come on back at the end of the week and we'll have another episode for you. And we'll love to hear from any of you. If you have any comments for us, please leave some comments. We love hearing from you guys. We want you guys to talk to us and let us know what you're thinking. If there's something that you hate, let us know. If there's something that you like, let us know. If there's something that you're pretty neutral about, let us know. And, that's pretty much it.
Sending love from the Breakfast Brothers.
Peace.
Out for the, I'm walking the bull, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the, out for the.
Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.